welcome to Come to Your Senses, the School of Sensual Living podcast. I'm your host, embodiment-based coach, Mary Lofgren. Here, we explore how to live bravely and beautifully through topics like pleasure, beauty, embodiment, femininity, art, somatic healing, mindfulness, and of course, everyday sensuality. Hello and welcome back to the podcast. Today we are exploring a very hot topic, which is the topic of embodied magnetism. So magnetism is a word that describes the physical phenomenon produced by the motion of electric charge, resulting in attractive and repulsive forces between objects. Thank you, Webster. Magnetism is something that many of us desire, this ability to call in and attract without effort the things that we want. And yet, in our world that is obsessed with doing as a way to ensure our value and control the outcome of our lives and our level of success, there's often really little space for that power of natural magnetism to emerge. And so today I'm going to be sharing with you some of the ways that you can help condition your inner magnet and help to study this force of natural attraction that exists inside every single human being. We're also going to talk about the pitfalls of studying magnetism, some of the ways that you can derail your practice of magnetism, some of the myths. And my hope is that this information not only helps you get closer to what you desire, which of course I want for every one of my listeners, but helps you attract what it is that you want from a deeper part of your being. Like many, I have been examining the way that my approach to goal setting and moving towards what I desire in life is really based on kind of a capitalist ethos of the more I get, the happier I'll be. And in today's episode, I hope that it inspires an experience of right relationship and moving towards what you desire and what you want, not necessarily in the spirit of conquest and acquisition, but more in the spirit of a sacred marriage between you and something greater than you that wants to work through you and work through your desires. But before we dive into today's episode, I'd love to take a moment to celebrate our community and share with you a brand new review. And this one comes from T. Uspi. And T says, "So grateful. Mary, thank you for sharing your gifts and wisdom in this lovely podcast. Every time I listen, I am invited to step more fully into my feminine energy. I feel a sense of delight when I see a new episode, knowing that there will be gems I can take into my day that will help me be present and in my body. You are a gift." Thank you so much, T. Uspi, for your generous words and your generous love. And I'm so thrilled to hear the invitation of this feminine energy becoming more abundant and taking up more space in your life. Because with all of my work, there really is this core mission, which is to help make the world a more safe and welcoming place for the feminine to thrive in all beings. And so I'm thrilled to hear that that delight is unfolding in your life. And if you enjoy the podcast, if you as a listener enjoy the podcast and you'd like to hear your name celebrated here on an episode, head to schoolofsensualliving.com/review. You really cannot know how grateful I am for each and every review and the impact that that has on my being able to reach more listeners. So head to schoolofsensualliving.com/review to leave your review today. I can't wait to celebrate you. The Art of Embodied Magnetism. So, magnetism is this connection between the subconscious and the conscious. It's the way that we take these desires, this creation, this creative life force that lives inside of our body, and we naturally move towards and draw in what is most authentically a match for that creative force. Magnetism is how we operate in the energy of creation in an embodied way. So I think it's important to point out the distinct differences between these energies of creation and the energy of production, both of which are extremely valuable. But in our world and in our culture, the energy of production, due to a lot of different factors, sees the body as this machine to produce. Whereas this more feminine experience of magnetism sees the body as this vessel of creative life force, both literally and metaphorically, energetically, in the way that the feminine, this energy that exists in all humans, has a natural, attractive composition. Another way to describe magnetism is sacred seduction. So those of you who have followed me for a while know that I wrote a book called Sacred Seduction under my old burlesque persona, Kitty Cavalier, and describing seduction not as just a game between lovers of erotic tension, but the erotic merging with life itself and the practice of attraction through authenticity, which is just another way of saying magnetism. And so what I'd love to share with you are some of the ways that you can condition your inner magnet. And so if you want to just take a moment before we begin and place a hand on your heart, and just taking a breath into that heart, and perhaps feeling your heart pressing and beating against your hand, I want you to know and feel through your touch in this moment that your heart has its own electromagnetic field. This consciousness, this intelligence. It's why we say, follow your heart, trust your heart, lead with your heart. And inside that heart, encoded in that heart, that electromagnetic field, is this magnet that is unique to you, that attracts certain things, that repels certain things. And so what I'm going to share with you now are just some gems on ways to tend to and connect to and embody this magnet that you possess. And so the first is tending the garden of your attention. And so just like what we're doing right now, and if your eyes are closed and your hand is on your heart, you can lower your hand and open your eyes. Just like we're doing right now, there's that very famous quote, "The longest journey we will ever take is the 6 inches from our head to our heart." Something vital to understand is that magnetism is not a game of thought. Well, thought influences magnetism, but where magnetism originates is in the field of energy. And energy is facilitated by the quality of our attention. So a really simple practice that you can do to help connect and develop your inner magnet is what we just did, which is taking a sacred pause and feeling a bit below the realm of thought into the realm of feeling, sensation, that electromagnetic energy, that truth of yes and no that emerges when we embody what it means to follow your heart. And even if all you can taste is a tiny, tiny teaspoon of that energy, doing so on a regular basis helps to build a more intimate, more consistent relationship with your magnet. And something important, I think, to point out is that for many of us, we resist connecting with our magnet and this energy of the heart because we're afraid of what it's going to say. We're afraid that if we actually listen to and follow our heart, we're going to have to destroy, life as we know it, life as we've built it thus far, if we connect with that inner wildness. And that may be true for you. It has been true for me in the past. But what I want you to know is that the emphasis in this point is not what you do with the information that you receive from your magnet. It's the quality of connection with your magnet. Now, actions will certainly help your magnet to trust you and you to trust it. But for right now, I really want to take the pressure off of that and really develop a deeper practice of listening simply for the sake of listening. The second is to tend the garden of your energy. Magnetism, as I shared before, is all about energy. And I know for myself, caring for my physical body is one of the best ways that I can simultaneously tend to and care for my energetic body. And so for me, that means my core pillars of tending the temple of my body, which are exercise, nutrition, hydration, sleep, stillness, and beauty. All of these are ways that I keep the garden of my energy really well maintained and really available, because what I know you will find, because I know it's what I have found and what my clients always find when we begin more actively tending the temple of the body, is that when we practice good energy hygiene through really quality care of this physical vessel of our energy, our nervous system becomes more relaxed, more attuned, less in fight or flight, and therefore more receptive, which is magnetism defined. Now, I want to acknowledge that for a lot of people here too, there is a tremendous amount of pressure associated with things like exercise and nutrition and trying to eat right and all the opinions around that and all of the patriarchal influences around that. And something that I find really helpful is an exercise that I do in my coaching programs called creating the atlas of your body. And so I'll take these pillars of beauty and sleep and nutrition and just ask two really simple questions. What do I know my body likes? What do I know my body doesn't like? And this is even an exercise in magnetism because we're filling in these positively charged and negatively charged aspects of our being. The Body Atlas is a working document. It's not fixed, but something I know, if I were to take the category of sleep, for example, something I absolutely 100% know about myself is that scrolling my phone does not please my body when it comes to sleep. Pleases my mind, pleases my fear, pleases my worry, pleases my loneliness, but it doesn't actually help me sleep. And so in the atlas of my body, if I really wanted to look at that information in tangible form, that would go on the negative column. Something I know really helps me sleep is watching Downton Abbey before bed. That's my secret ritual, is to an hour before bedtime wind down and watch British television and drink vanilla chamomile tea with lots of milk. And so that's something that I know that in this moment in time, that may not always be true for my body, but in this moment in time, that goes in the yes column for my sleep. I know for an absolute fact that throughout my life, dairy products do not suit my body, do not offer my body the kind of nutrition that it craves. I've really, really tested that throughout my life. And so that would go in the negative column in my body atlas around that. And once again, this is all just really a way to study and to become the resident expert in the instrument that is this vessel of your energy. The third way to condition your magnet is to tend the garden of your mind. So I've been learning a lot about mindset training, and you've probably heard me talk about on this podcast before the way that I resisted mindset training for a long time because it felt very disembodied to me. But as I learn more and more about it, I realize what a spiritual imperative it is to be very discerning about the garden of my mind. With so many influences in our world that want to really gear us towards fear and anxiety and division, being the authority on my own mind and what I believe is true and what is actually happening in the moment, I'm learning is really everything, because our thoughts are this infinity loop with our emotions and feelings. Our emotions and feelings respond to our thoughts respond to our emotions and feelings. And so in this feedback loop, if we can take a moment to interrupt that pinging back and forth with just a little bit of presence, for me that looks like meditation and movement and pausing to listen not just to what's being said in my mind, but how it's being said. Who does that voice belong to? Is it my voice, or is it the voice of something outside of me? Is it the voice of my deep sense of calm, quiet knowing? Or is it the voice of my relentless pursuit for control? All really, really valid questions. And when we can be more proactive in how we choose our thoughts, and choosing thoughts that gear away from a negativity bias, always expecting what will go wrong, more towards a pleasure or a positivity bias. I actually recorded a whole podcast episode about this called The Art of Pleasure Bias. I'll put it in the show notes. We create, when we think those thoughts that lean towards what might go right or what possibilities might happen, and we fuel that with our quality of presence, our emotions literally take a tectonic shift inside and open us up to a deeper field of magnetism. The fourth gem for conditioning your magnet is to tend the garden of your commitment through ritual. So I remember when I lived in New York City, a good friend of mine, Veronica Varlow, who was a burlesque witch, used to do these classes on candle magic, and we would carve sacred symbols into our candles, and we would infuse our intention, and we would glitter them, and then we would burn that candle for 7 days in a sacred spell. And whatever it is you are looking to magnetize, a really powerful practice that you can do is get yourself a 7-day candle. And you can do the whole shebang with candle carving and candle magic. You can also order a really powerful magical candle from Enchantments in New York City, which is a shop that kind of does all of that back-end work for you. But even if you just get a candle from the grocery store, that bottom shelf 99-cent candle, and you hold it to that electromagnetic field in your heart, and you focus your attention on the feeling of what you desire, and you use those discerning thoughts of what could go right, what is possible for you, and you set that candle on your desk, that candle acts as a lighthouse to your desire. I do not know how it works. I do not need to know how it works. What I do know is that it works. And this is just one example of a ritual that you can do. I also did an episode recently called The Art of Everyday Ritual, which is another really fun and effective way to increase your magnetism. I'll put that in the show notes too. And then the final tool or tip that I have for increasing the frequency and vibration of your magnet is to tend the garden of your receptivity. So one of my most beloved teachers, Barbara Huson, formerly Barbara Stanny, once asked me a question: if you don't have what you want, why don't you want it? And that really caused me to dig deep and explore where I may have been saying I desired something, but where my behaviors or my actions indicated something else. And something that she instructed me to do was start a receiving journal. And this is a powerful practice that I'll repeat many times in my life. But when you have something that you really want, or when you are in a state of deep surrender, like after a breakup or after an illness, or, your world has really been shook and you're not really sure who or what you are anymore, these are prime moments for the development and communion with your magnet. And so a receiving journal is an exercise where you take note of everything that you are receiving, and not just compliments, gifts, things like that, but insights, wisdom, downloads, a little thing somebody said that perked up your ears, a recipe for paella that you've never felt drawn to, but suddenly you do. Shove that in your receiving journal. A song that you really love. And this is yet another way to open up a more direct line of communication between you and your magnet. Because as you begin to collect this data in your receiving journal, these things may seem totally unrelated, but when you look back on them, you will be able to see a common thread and a deeper message that is moving and propelling you forward. And the last thing I'd love to share is when we are practicing magnetism, it's really easy to get derailed or to think that you're doing it wrong because you're actually not doing anything. You're inhabiting more of your being. And so I want to just share with you that it's really important to understand that magnetism is the study and practice of polarity. And it is as important to study and understand and embody your no as it is your yes. So if there are certain things in your life that feel repulsive to you or repellent, that is something to put in your receiving journal. That is really good information. Often magnetism is seen as this one-directional experience of towards, but as we learned in that definition, magnetism is also that drawing away. And so keeping track of what you're a no to is equally as important as keeping track of what is being pulled towards you and what you are being pulled towards. And the second idea to be somewhat wary of is the idea that magnetism is passive. Magnetism, I would say, is less passive and more receptive. And something that keeps people from pursuing this embodiment of a more feminine energy is the idea that if I was in my feminine all the time, I wouldn't get anything done. But actually, this feminine energy is very active in the sense that feminine energy is what fuels the depth of our doing. And so in a more overly masculinized experience, we're very, very accustomed to conditioning that muscle of our doing. Do, all day long, all night long, even before sleep, like I shared before. Do on my phone, check my email before bed. Like, why do I do that sometimes? I don't know. Because this muscle of doing is addictive. And what I have learned from my own practice in feminine embodiment is that feminine energy is actually quite active because it is the energy of being inspired. And it's the energy of having clear intention and depth of feeling. so that then my actions, whether those actions are cleaning off my stove or writing a book, come from a place deeper than my conditioning to keep doing. And so in your magnetism practice, that's something that I really encourage you to examine, is the quality of your doing and where it's coming from, and connecting to that depth of feeling in your desire first, and allowing your actions to shape themselves around that. And before we close this episode, I'd love to take a moment to share with you this week's Swoon. Swoon is a weekly feature where I share a product or a teacher or something that is making me swoon in my own practice of sensual living and embodiment. And this week is another skincare product. So I'm an esthetician. I've been an esthetician for over 20 years, and you'll hear me talk about skincare products a lot on here, because beauty is a really integral aspect of my mindfulness practice and the way that I use sensuality, everyday sensuality, to practice intention and presence and mindfulness. And today's offering is one of my all-time favorite cleansers. It is pink, it is creamy, it is infused with delicious Hawaiian botanicals, and it comes from Hanua Hawaiian Skincare, their Pa'akai cleanser. So this cleanser can be used on really all skins with the exception of excessively oily or acneic, in my opinion. If you contact the manufacturer, they might tell you something different, but that would be my recommendation, is more drier skins, dehydrated skins, skins that are lacking vitality, and even more sensitive skins. I have an extremely sensitive skin, and I absolutely adore this cleanser. It's extremely gentle. It contains lots of botanicals from the sea, hibiscus extract, antioxidants, and it smells really good, and it just looks great in your bathroom. So if you'd like to try this cleanser for yourself, it's one of many amazing products that they have in their catalog. You can head to schoolofsensualliving.com/cleanse, CLEANSE, and that will take you directly to this product to purchase it from Hanua themselves. I hope that today's episode has left your magnet feeling both supple and supercharged. Thank you so much for listening. See you next time. For more coaching, classes, and community in the art of sensual living, head to schoolofsensualliving.com. There you'll find a free course on how to reduce anxiety and increase your natural confidence through powerful embodied body language. Head to schoolofsensualliving.com/confidence to get instant access to the course today.